We see a roadway that has a man standing on it. He checks his phone to see where he is, until it glitches. A lady is there with him. As they sit, they observe someone walking through the smoke ahead. The person starts running after them, making them run too. She appears unnaturally fast in their area. Seeing that she looks disorderly, the man wants to help her, so he comes to her, but she grabs him by his head to take his life away. After that bizarre happening, we see someone cleaning their vehicle before entering it. Soon he rides in his van, talking to a lady beside him. We see he is a talkative, social man who takes pride in owning his vehicle and giving rides to other people. The lady in his passenger seat, though, does not seem to like talking. The man, Blasco, seems dissatisfied by this. Later, he talks on the phone while she sleeps. When he stops to pick up more passengers, the new lady has an issue with his van. She calls it old, yet he calls it experienced. As Blasco packs her belongings, the lady finds a sword there. He tells her he used to be a bullfighter. That sword is being taken to his cousin, who is also a bullfighter. The lady, Lydia, brings her daughter, Marta, along. The girl does not want to sit in the back. She even gives her mother a hard time for it. Soon, however, we see them all get inside before riding away. Marta is sitting in the front. Her mother sits in the back, along with the First Lady, Mariella. Blasco notices the young girl looking at him and asks her what she wants. She lets him know that he's old. She also warns him not to smoke, which he was about to do, or else she will vomit in his van. Marta notices his strange eye, prompting her to ask what happened to him. He tells her it was caused by his first bullfight. After explaining to her how it took place, Marta says he's lying to her about having been a bullfighter. She reveals a side of her face, which appears burnt. He asks what happened to her, but she does not tell him. After observing Blasco's inappropriate behavior with Marta, Lydia slightly scolds the man. Then Mariella quietly speaks ill of him with her. As they continue to ride, Blasco makes a rude remark to a driver on the road. Lydia scolds him again for that. Since it was a somewhat misogynistic remark, they get on the topic of feminism. He says he loves females, though he's no feminist. All they want is revenge. Mariella gives him flack for that statement. Later, he takes a certain road that makes Lydia apprehensive. They did not want to take any detours, but the man explains his reason. We soon discover Marta is going to live with her father. She complains about not being loved by her parents. Eventually, something on the road makes Blasco suddenly stop driving. He gets out of his van to observe some wreckage on the road. On the side, there lies something bizarre. Marta also spots something odd. It is some strange biology. She reaches out to it, and the organism emits something into her finger. Her mother wants to check on her, yet Marta gets inside the van. Blasco can't make sense of the other object, making him venture back into the van as well. While they ride, we see something dissolving. Blasco is amazed by what they just discovered. He talks about it with some enthusiasm. Meanwhile, Lydia notices that Mariella is wearing a wig. She tells her about it, prompting the lady to correct it. The man tells Marta they get spied on all the time by the government. That is why he has an old phone. He tells her that her advanced phone keeps track of her. Blasco even advises her to test it by talking about any subject. Once she does, she will eventually receive ads regarding that matter. The girl looks at her finger, where the bizarre organism released something. Then Mariella tells Lydia she is going to see her father. He made her mom suffer, and she doesn't know why. The man left when she was still little. They have not heard from him again. Following that, Lydia says a few words about her past. At the age of 5 years, Marta got into an accident because her dad was drinking. Marta received some burns, yet managed to survive. At the front of the van, Blasco tells Marta he was in a band in the 80s. Had she known him at that time, he says she would have loved him. The girl looks at her finger and observes something coming out of it. Shortly after, the van slams into a person on the road, but Blasco keeps driving. Mariella tells him to turn back. After he does not listen to her, she says she will report him if he doesn't. At that point, he turns his van around. They come to a lady lying on the road. Blasco attempts to call for help, but his phone becomes hot, forcing him to drop it. As he does, we see the lady's eyes open for less than 1 second. Blasco goes to get bandages, while Marta looks at the strange substance coming out of her finger. When he brings the bandages, they argue about what to do with her. Soon enough, it becomes decided as they place the lady in the van. Mariella tries to offer her aid to the lady before being grabbed by her. She gets held against the window until we see them flipped over. In that position, the lady releases some slime onto Mariella. While that takes place, Lydia argues with Blasco. Her daughter tells her to stop. Then we observe that Mariella has become deformed. She starts walking behind Lydia until she grabs her. Lydia struggles as the two up front talk, unaware of the situation. In an attempt to free herself, she grabs the face of the lady they picked up and throws it against the glass. Blasco instantly stops the van. The two of them turn to see what is happening in the back. Upon seeing it, Marta panics. She gets out to start pulling her mom out. Unable to do it, she falls. Blasco, however, opens the back to slam the monster with a guitar. That way, he manages to help Lydia escape. The three of them run into the woods, while the monster shakes the van. 1 minute passes before the doors open and the monster jumps out. The group decides to split up. Blasco goes alone while Lydia goes with her daughter. Marta yells to get the substance out of her finger, so Lydia uses a knife to remove the parasite. As she does it, Marta's eyes change color. After they leave the area, we see the monster crawl there and the tiny parasite enters it. Lydia tells Marta they have to split even more, but Marta doesn't want to do it. She cries, telling her mom that she loves her. Lydia talks her into going, so she does. Walking alone, she encounters Blasco and hugs him. As Lydia walks, someone slams into her. Marta hears her mother scream, making her want to go back. Yet Blasco urges her not to do that, for they are already near his van. He gets in and opens the door for her. Seeing the monster run from behind, Marta quickly decides to enter the van. We see the monster is now her mother. They ride, talking about the parasite that was in Marta's finger. At that point, Blasco becomes convinced the thing they saw earlier was a UFO. He also says Marta's mom was brave for what she did. Soon enough, he sees the van is low on gas. We also see it leave a trail of liquid on the road. Later, it starts going downhill, forcing them to push it up. Afterward, they arrive at a petrol station. There is a sign there stating the worker is away. Due to that, Marta starts panicking, and Blasco tries to calm her. He sits her in the van while he goes to collect gas elsewhere. We see him stealing gas from another car. Meanwhile, Marta sees the monster in the mirror, causing her to hide. When it comes near the van, the worker returns to the station. Marta observes from below the van how her mother jumps at him to gruesomely end his life. Then Blasco sees a cat go into a hole in the wall. He comes to look inside, and we witness a room with a decapitated individual sitting there. At that moment, his container fills up with petrol. He returns to take Marta out of hiding. Once he does, she tells him they have to leave because her monster mom was there. So they ride off. Blasco starts coughing, which scares the girl into thinking he's infected. After showing her he is okay, she tends to the wound on his head. Shortly after, it starts raining. To make matters worse, something jumps on the roof of the van. That prompts them to hold the roof. Following that, Blasco makes a sudden stop, which throws the monster off the van. He drives over it, back and forth, several times. However, after they ride away, the monster still stands. Subsequently, the duo rides, listening to the radio. They enjoy themselves as they connect over the music. When Blasco starts getting dizzy, they soon have to stop. During that time, we see the monster has entered the van. Blasco tells Marta her mother is there before he loses consciousness. Marta turns to see her. Luckily for them, the glass shielding protects them from her. Then Marta exits the van to open the door where the monster stands. She crawls slowly under her to collect the water, because that is what Blasco needs. Once she gets it, her monster mom starts slamming her head against the glass. She follows that by releasing a tentacle that travels through the opening and wraps around Blasco's neck. It starts choking him. Marta comes to help, but she can't get it to release itself. So she uses the cigarette burner to harm the tentacle. After that, she gives Blasco the water she got. The monster comes near the passenger window to break it with her head. It reaches for Marta, and Blasco starts driving. The monster resorts to chasing after them. She jumps inside, shatters the glass shielding, and takes Marta out. This causes Blasco to pick up the speed. He talks to his van, telling it that they have to save Marta. Afterward, he goes off-road to slam into a tree. From the resulting crash, Blasco pulls himself out before he starts pulling out Marta. Once he does, she expresses relief that she did not get burnt this time. When they begin walking, the monster pulls in Marta with her tentacles. She gets on top of the girl, getting ready to infect her. However, Blasco calls out to the monster in a bullfighting fashion. It gets provoked to come at him, and the man evades its first charge. But then it gets on him to release slime from its mouth. Behind the monster, Marta uses Blasco's bullfighting sword to impale it. The two of them enjoy their victory before they start walking away. While they walk, we see the little monster is still alive. They notice it there. Marta uses a lighter and Blasco uses a spray to ignite the parasite to its end. After that, the radio from the van begins playing a song that Blasco wants to dance to with Marta. So they engage in that victorious activity, enjoying the now safe night. During the daytime, the survivors visit a bar. Since it's empty, Blasco pours himself some wine. We see the bartender lying headless behind the bar. In the washroom, slime starts dripping on Marta's hand. After we become acquainted with the sinister nature of the place, several infected people come near Blasco. Marta appears to be among them. Due to that, Blasco offers his wine glass to the audience before drinking it. He has experienced a bizarre adventure, one that is not likely to be repeated. There in that bar, perhaps he fends off the infected, or perhaps he concludes his adventure in the way his passengers did.